it's clear that a lot of people want to tell stories and they want to tell their own stories. They want to mix genre. It's just like they don't have the craft or the skill or the resources or time to make those films. And so like on that level, I'm like, okay, I'm optimistic that AI can allow everybody to make banger films.
Today, we have a true visionary in the world of AI and storytelling, Minh. As an entrepreneur, filmmaker, and thought leader, Minh explores the dynamic intersection of artificial intelligence and creativity. He's the co-founder of Machine Cinema, where he's shaping the future of film through AI education. And at Fantastic Day, he's breaking barriers with experimental AI-generated content. From venture capitalist to journalist and even theater actor, Minh's diverse journey fuels his curiosity about AI's potential to transform entertainment and challenge our understanding of consciousness. This season is proudly sponsored by Sideshow Tea, fueling our conversations with premium single origin tea infused with sparkling water. Welcome, Minh.
Thanks for having me, Derek.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you. I know you're always at the cutting edge. Even your Twitter is blowing up. You had Elon Musk comment on your Twitter. I think that's so awesome.
So random. I could not believe that happened. And it's so funny because I was spending the whole day working on an event with Y Combinator. And like I got home that night and I was like, oh, I'm going viral for a hot second.
Blowing up on the internet. That's so cool. Well, I'm excited to have you. You know, with all my guests, I always ask them, what is artificial intelligence to set the stage? So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
I mean, I guess I'm a boilerplate. It's a field of research that has blown up in our faces with ChatGPT 3.5. But obviously it's been under research for a long time with machine learning and then deep learning and transformer tech and all of that. But at the same time, I guess it's also captured the imagination since Frankenstein, even, you could argue, right? Since the very beginning of science fiction, we've been thinking about this idea of an artificial intelligence. One thing that usually when I'm teaching, I do a lot of teaching these days, is, I think that we should be thinking about it in terms of machine learning, that this is a technology that is being trained on our data and it hallucinates on said data and thereby creates something, be it words or images or videos. And then we have to do something with that. But yeah, kind of a hodgepodge of what I think AI is.
Well, you're in the heart of it. You're over right now in San Mateo and all over Palo Alto and Silicon Valley and stuff like that. I assume when you're training and teaching a lot of these people, what are their concerns or what's their curiosity like? What are their questions? And what are you kind of overall teaching them?
Well, I mean, here in the Bay, it's like it's in the blood. When you arrive in the Bay, it's like everybody's talking AI, especially if you're in tech. It's like crazier than the big data, e-commerce, chat trends. It's like everybody has to have AI in their pitch deck. Otherwise, what are you doing? So we are in a fever pitch that a bubble that we've never seen before. But I travel around the world a lot, LA, New York, and then I just spent 3 months in Europe, spent some time in Africa, Middle East, Asia, and it's like everybody is coming at this at a different pace and different angle. And so in these other places, it's kind of like AI is less of their ecosystem, so to speak, but everybody's obviously very focused on adoption and integration. And so, we've worked with like agencies and brands and studios. That's where a lot of our focus is, and organizations, and like how do they integrate AI as creators or as, all these organizations. A lot of the question mark is what we focus on is creation, right? Like AI creativity, and like how do I integrate the latest tools, which are changing daily, into our processes? What are the core workflows? What are the most common basic workflows? And then what are the most cutting edge workflows? Those are all top of mind.
Well, tell me about the convergence in music and video, games and film. I know that's a lot of some of the stuff that you've been talking about on your feed as well.
It's moving so fast. And, my impression has been that AI tools, it's just like every day now. 11 Labs just yesterday or today released that they have an image to video aggregator platform, right? And they have for the last 2 or 3 years been dominant only on audio. Who knew that they were going to come into that space? And then last week and the week before, you got Runway, Free Pick, and others rolling out an infinite canvas, so node-based infinite canvas, right, for professionals. And I can list companies on and on. So there's just like so much innovation in terms of actual tooling, and they're all going for very different markets at the same time. Some are just targeting ads, some are music videos, some are whatever. We work with some pretty big musicians on music videos in particular. We work with some pretty big studios on like doing some experiments for them and things like microdramas or in like vertical video, in trailers and things like that. And everybody wants to try it out, even just to understand. even some studios that we've been talking to, that they have restrictions from on high that they are legally not allowed to do anything with AI. But that is not preventing them from doing R&D to at least understand what is possible, right? They're not going to publish anything. They're not even going to let AI touch previs, right? In some of these studios, but they are going to send all their people, or as many people as they can, to go tinker on-site or off-site with the tools to figure out how they work. It's clear that everyone is adopting it, right? Or at least tinkering at every level. There's definitely going to be people also who are opposed at every level, but writers, directors, producers, people who are in unions are playing with AI. Studios, agency, brands are all playing with AI. I mean, one theory that I have is that we're going to see more gradation between roles. Let's say I'm a producer and you're the director. We are working with the writer over here, and the writer can actually, very rapidly do a storyboard and then send it to me and you. And then you could actually remix that storyboard and send it back to me as a full video. And that could all transpire over the course of, let's say, a few days rather than previously maybe 8 months, right? And so what does that mean for our roles? Am I, as a producer, doing a little bit of writing? Is the writer doing a little bit of producing? Is the director doing a little, and how does that all land? It's so interesting because I know what's happening in the product space is that product managers and product designers are like vibe coding apps and then sending them to engineers. And then engineers are actually building. Very different from, hey, I'm writing out a product requirements document, which is all text. And then I'm sending it to you and you're interpreting that. And then you're going through design. And then, that is just a multi-step process that is changing right now very rapidly.
So I feel like the prototyping phase is kind of being condensed. You're able to see stuff closer to what it could be if you put some effort behind it. What do you think the way it's going, like AI content? I've heard things like AI will have its own genre. What's the sentiment, or what are people thinking that like that's what they prefer, or how is it going, or that's what people are building towards?
This is all still theoretical, and I'm actually also curious what you think, but I think AI genre, or rather, does AI cause there to be more genres? I think there is the critique that there's a lot of AI slop, which is going to be true. But at the same time, just my experience of going around the world and talking to a lot of AI filmmakers, thousands of filmmakers, it's clear that a lot of people want to tell stories and they want to tell their own stories. They want to mix genre. And so what does that look like when eventually, this is my very, very optimistic take, but where does that look like when I can get to everybody in the world can produce like a Godfather or a Schindler's List level film? Because everybody has stories like Schindler's List. Everybody has stories like Godfather. It's just like they don't have the craft or the skill or the resources or time to make those films, right? And obviously, there's a huge legacy behind like Italian filmmakers and Spielberg, et cetera. But I do think that you allow people to experiment and play more. Eventually they do get to that level where they can tell a story that quality. And so on that level, I'm like, okay, I'm optimistic that AI can allow everybody to make banger films. And then at the same time, I'm like, what does it mean if it's so easy for me to make, I can just mix solar punk with, I don't know, goth, and that's a new genre. And then maybe, to your point about it's kind of a niche group of sci-fi, is it easier to find those people that would be really into that? And is someone going to crack micro dramas? Is someone going to crack how to monetize this niche group of people? And then more creators find each other. I don't know. This is all my very optimistic thinking, but what if I can have this solar punk goth subgenre and it's just 500,000 people, but they love it and they are co-creating this subgenre. It's a counterculture in and of itself. And it's so easy to remix because AI is making it easy to remix this genre. And then at some point, like Akira or Ghost in the Shell or whatever, maybe something pops out of that genre and goes to mainstream once in a while. That would be my hope that AI can help us to do.
Yeah, especially at the age I'm at and having lived through a lot of these changes, I think there's still programming in me about what's legit or not, or what's high value, low value. My opinion is not really accurate compared to somebody who's maybe going to high school right now. They're kind of like perspective on the world is going to be like completely different and be like, you're not doing it that way. Like that's the way, that's the best way. So knowing that, and this is great that you're an educator as well, in addition to being an artist, what do you think, and especially around the world, what are some of the common things or maybe a unique thing that the kids should be sort of working towards, like just starting off? Maybe 5 years from now, they might want to try to find a job, and how can they be prepared for it?
That's the question you asked me so far. I don't know, I would say. Because even I don't know where my industry is going. You know, like where do the AI model companies end up? Because they're all going to compete with OpenAI, right? And Google. Right? And can they win against those companies? The AI studios and AI filmmakers like myself and production people like myself, like how do we compete when, you know, the big studios are coming into our space eventually, right? So I don't know what that looks like. I think we are maybe a year or more away from just all kind of landing in a place that feels more stable. And so, yeah, I don't know how to answer that question entirely, but I do like one trend line that I think about a lot is like casual versus professional. You know, the SORA2 moment to me is similar to the Ghibli meme moment with ChatGPT image, is similar to Midjourney to me. The trend line is that a lot of the ad tool companies want all of this to get easier. There's this one interview with Steve Jobs. At the time, Mac was like a $5,000 Mac, which is obviously a lot. And the interviewer is like, do you think this is ever going to cause the price to go down because of Moore's law and things like that? And Steve was like, no, because I'm paraphrasing, but our goal is to make consumer electronics for the average person. And in order to do that, we have to make it simpler. We have to make the interfaces simpler and easier to use. And that requires more complex machines. And I think that is what is happening, is that there is a trend line that everybody's trying to make easier and easier and simpler AI. Because that's the goal, is that ChatGPT wants, or OpenAI wants everybody on Earth to use ChatGPT. It has to be so easy that everyone on Earth uses it. That means that everyone on Earth can make a video or an image or a document or whatever. At the same time, there's this trend line towards more granularity and more expertise. And that's 100% what the Hollywood studios want and the gaming studios want, is they want to have total control over a character object. And from that perspective, even AI, as good as it has been, is still not enough for huge animation studios and 3D graphic studios, because they know what the edge is, and the edge is what they've done for the last 30, 40 years. And yet that's also where AI tool companies are going towards. And so like right now, it's like node-based Infinite Canvas. It's using 3D to hybrid mixes, right? Where people are mixing VFX with AI, with, you know, compositing, all this kind of stuff. But I don't see why that trend line won't get to the point where, hey, I can text prompt a character, the character appears before me, and I click on a button, it becomes a 3D image. Then I'm using my literal, like this camera right here, to like manipulate that character in space just by it. Because AI vision is getting so good, like it can track all my fingers. So I can use every finger to move the character around in front of me on the video camera. And then I can use my voice maybe to cause the camera to move forwards or backwards, or tell the character to move. Like, I don't see why that isn't going to happen even by this time next year or the next year. So from that perspective, to answer your question, like, what am I supposed to learn? How am I supposed to arrange my career? In the professional, if I'm going for that high-end professional, ultimately you're going to have to learn all the tools or extant tools anyways to adapt to the change. I think ultimately that's what you have to do if you want to be that technical. Even if you want to be a producer or director, I think you still have to learn just to understand what's possible to work with the slightly more or much more technical people. And then in the casual space, I guess my question is, does that still adhere to everything that we know in social media already? Because AI isn't really quite yet disrupting distribution. Even if I created better content, I still have to like figure out how to market that to an audience. Like that's still like basic stuff, right? That's still normal. But who knows, like maybe micropajamas is going to change that and things like that. Even then, that's still adhering to how do you market new IP to an audience.
It's a great perspective. I think what you're saying is that they're putting effort in making it frictionless, and like everyone, that's where they're investing towards. What is your SORA2 moment? Tell me about that.
I mean, it's kind of faded now, right? Very hypey for the first, week and a half or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Now it's kind of faded a little bit. I'm sure there are numbers that are still pretty big, but OpenAI released SORA2, which is a leap away from what they did with Sora 1. Sora 1 was mainly like you have a very nice image generator and then this video generator that, has some level of granularity, but frankly, the generations were not that good compared to the bleeding edge. When Sora 2 arrives, and what is surprising about it from a model perspective is that it can do the editing, it can do the sound, and it can generate entire 10 to 15 second clips. And the more you put into it as a creator, the more you get out of it. Like, so if you are using very detailed, you can tell it like from second 1.2 to second 3.5, this happens, a tracking shot of the character running this direction. Then you do 3.5 to 4.2, that, the character jumps, if you go in and do that level of granularity, Sora will actually be able to, within some degree of accuracy, replicate exactly what you asked it to do within like 1 minute to 3 minutes, right? At the same time, they added this cameo feature where you could take a video of yourself and then you can essentially cast yourself in it. And that's another kind of aha moment for them. And then the third thing I would add is that it is a social network where I can essentially use myself. I can create a cut scene of myself, flying through the air, and then I can send that to you, or send that to the network, post on the platform, and then other people can remix it. You could be like, all right, change this Minh character to Derek, and it'd be Derek flying in the same setting. And then someone else could see that Steve wants to do it. So Steve does another. So then you got this chain of everybody just remixing this AI video. That, among many other features, but those being a few of the core features, which I think is really interesting about Sora, is that, hey, now we have this social network where we are just using AI to interact with each other. And I think what's been interesting to watch is people are sometimes just not even publishing, they're just like sending me videos of stuff they made of themselves, and they're like trolling me. And so it's like, this is not a feature film. It's never going to be a feature film. Or maybe it will. I don't want to say never, but it's explicit fun of it is that I am now using AI as a thing for fun between us. It's not even a meme. It's just, something that I'm doing for fun. It's kind of more like Instagram in the sense that I'm posting on Instagram not to show off my amazing photos, just to share with my community what I'm up to. And maybe that's the critique of slop, but it's also like, hey, this is the social activity where AI is enabling the socializing. So yeah, I think that's the Sora 2 moment to me. And it's provocative in the sense that, hey, it faded. So clearly it's not super sticky. Maybe because it's not adherent enough, it's not perfect enough, but it's a window into, hey, what is the next level of interaction where AI is this medium between me and you as an individual, one-to-one, not just one to a group of people. What does that look like? That's very provocative to me. So a group of us, about like 50 of us right now, we just created a group. We call it the Refugees of Slopopolis, which is good for fun. And the idea was that, hey, look, we can cameo each other. We can cast each other. And so I got this idea and I pitched it to our community, Machine Cinema. I was like, hey guys, who wants to join in with me? And 50 people joined. And now we have been asynchronously creating a story together of like, we got slop farmers, we got like a cult that worships slop and we're trying to escape it. And we got all these characters and we're all creating it async. So we're just like creating videos, we're sending videos into the group. It's like, oh my God, that's a good continuation of the story. Let's make that canon. That was what was interesting to me about Sora 2. It was like, oh, can we like co-create IP together? And so that's what we've been experimenting in this little group, because I do think that that is just around the corner. Like, I hope that's around the corner and we can feel it a little bit. And we have one person who raised a hand, an editor. It's like a real human editor is actually taking our clips and then compiling it into like episodes. Let's say we spent 2 or 3 weeks throwing like 10-second clips at each other and like being like, oh, that's cool, that sucks, that's cool, that sucks. And then one guy's like, all right, I'm going to take it all, put it together and make this is the cohesive episode 3. Anyway, that's not Sora to like all of those things.
Love that. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the interconnectivity and fun generated from it. And it's creating new platforms and new ways for people to communicate with each other. Like, I think I saw something on Snap recently and I was like, is Snap still around? Are people using Snap? And then there's like some sort of Snap feature on Instagram. So I was like, okay, but they just raised the money. So maybe that kind of lives on, like putting something up and it disappears after 20 seconds. Maybe that resurges and surges, but the actual company that created it or the way they try to monetize it didn't.
Like the modality survived, the way of interacting survived.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. So co-creation, I'd love to hear what you thought about that. What's it like to do that? And what are the challenges that you're running into just even, experimenting with that?
I mean, to be honest, like co-creation is like what I now live for. Building machine cinema, which really like came up out of, hey, it was just a group of us like me. I want to be a filmmaker. Now I could call myself a filmmaker, but like really I moved to LA because I wanted to get into it. But I was interacting with a lot of other more senior, more experienced filmmakers, and we're just trying to figure out AI. And, I being a very curious person, fell in love with the journey. We just started playing around, and then we were like, hey, what if we got together and we started creating videos together, make little short films together. And that spiraled into this thing we call Gen Jams, and which we've done now over 100 times around the world. Essentially like our version of what would it look like to do a video hackathon, which has been really fun to just watch people all around the world just like come together, create a short film or create multiple short films and then watch them together. The deeper and deeper passion for me out of that has become, how do I get more people to co-create bigger things together all at once? We did the Gen Jam in LA a few months ago, which is a little more complicated, but we essentially got a director like yourself who had a seed of a short film, 3-minute short film. And we got about 40 relatively senior AI filmmakers who are very experienced. And we put them all in one building, this co-working space called Lighthouse in LA. And we're like, okay, this director, Eliza Burnett, let's get you to direct this 40 people, exquisite corpse style, to split into groups of 3 to 4 and do a scene for a 3-minute short. And it felt like we were on set. It was super fun. And then at the end of it, we all sat there and just watched one 3-minute short. That was like, whoa. Now, how do I do that for 100 people, or 500 people, or 1,000 people, or 10,000 people? Like, how can I simulate that experience? How can I take inspiration from actually Wikipedia, which has got millions of people to contribute to a body of knowledge? How do I get millions or hundreds of thousands of people to contribute to a work of art? And I think that's been really a guiding light for me. I would love to like collaborate with anybody who wants to do anything close to that. And so like, how do we get more and more people to buy into this idea, which just kind of makes me a bit of an AI evangelist, but like buy into this idea that we can use AI as a creative tool to do big things together. And it's not just like, hey, it's like, yes, I was on a survey and now you contributed. It's like, I want you to create a character that is now in this world, or like to create a building that is now in this world that we now get to like experience together. Like that is very provocative to me. And I think that's why I like Minecraft and Roblox are also very provocative. That's why we're playing around a little bit, or just like trying to understand. Yeah, I think that's really super fascinating for me.
Love it. So I want to quickly thank our sponsor, Sideshow Tea. It's awesome, single origin, sparkling tea. Well, Minh, hey man, I loved having you on the show. I need to have you back again to update everybody on how things are going and around the world. And appreciate it.
I'll come back in a year and we can check if any of my predictions are bullshit. All my stupid optimistic theories.
It might be there 3 months.
It could be 3 months. Or it could all collapse, it could all be like, you're a wrong man, there are no more artists. But thanks so much for having me. Always fun to chat with you.